Hello everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode on my channel, Bohemian Book Club. Today I'll be talking about the book, Thoughts Without a Thinker, written by Mark Epstein. Mark Epstein is an American author and psychotherapist. In Thoughts Without a Thinker, Mark Epstein explores the distinct psychological insights from Buddhist teachings. As a psychotherapist and meditator, he outlines a meditation-based healing path and presents a groundbreaking perspective on what defines a healthy emotional life. Before moving ahead, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Part 1. Buddhism and psychoanalysis are related to each other. In Buddhism, there's a pretty famous image called the Wheel of Life that represents existence. It illustrates the idea of karma and takes you on a tour through life, death and rebirth. This Wheel of Life is a powerful teaching tool that illustrates the three basic human emotions. Desires, anger and delusions are placed in the center and represented by three animals, a green snake, a red rooster, and a black hog, all biting each other's tail. They represent our own personal blocks, and together keep us bound to the world. This is why they're considered the root of all suffering, and are considered so important to understand. But these ideas aren't unique to Buddhism. There are parallels in Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, where eros and thanatos represent different aspects of the same concept. They share a similar connection to that of the snake and rooster in Buddhism. In fact, according to psychoanalysis, desire and anger were among the first and most primitive forces. Freud was of the opinion that all humans are born with an inherent sense of both eros and thanatos. However, he argued that we repress these urges to form the basis from which any ensuing psychical suffering arises. In Greek mythology, Eros is the god of love, or life force, that encourages procreation. Because of its connection to this life drive, Eros is sometimes seen as having a sexual connotation. Even though Freud wasn't really interested in Buddhism, this connection makes you think of the snake of desire as soon as you start to analyze what Freud is saying. Buddhists believe that our desire for pleasant experiences is what drives us and keeps us striving. We want to be with people we love, or spend time in a good environment, or enjoy pleasant moments. The opposite is true for suffering. We tend to reject the unpleasant feelings that lead to sorrow and suffering. Meanwhile, Thanatos is a Greek god that represents death, and Freud's idea of the death drive explains the anger humans feel. Freud's theory on death is simple: everywhere we turn, it's right there with us, giving us the anger we feel deep in our guts. He even says that when others are angry with us, we often think about death and dying. Just hearing the anger of another person can cause us to think about death, which is why so many of us take care not to confront such situations. Part 2. The Delusion of the Self. The third core emotion of the Buddhist Wheel of Life is delusion, represented by the black hog at the center of the wheel. In Buddhism, delusion is used to describe the blindness/mistaken nature of self. In psychoanalysis, it is the root cause of a variety of behavioral disorders, such as dissociative disorder, where one experiences a disconnection between his thoughts and identity. From this point of view, Buddhism and psychoanalysis both deal with the misunderstanding of the self. But in Buddhism, the true nature of the self is tough to understand. In fact, Buddhist enlightenment may be dependent on the person's ability to grasp the concept of no self. The self is different from the ego. Ego is what coordinates a balance between our natural instincts and society's expectations. When taming your ego, Buddhists believe that only by using the ego in meditation can you realize that there is no self, and attain enlightenment. As long as you're suffering from delusion, you can't achieve enlightenment. From a psychoanalytic perspective, our misconception of a full self is the main concern. For example, as babies, we feel cared for by our mothers, and we perceive ourselves to be a part of our parents. Then, as the child grows older, it goes through a mental process of trying to come to terms with the idea that its parents are separate from it. This can be difficult for some children, as they strive to hold on to this delusion of unity. Part 3. A distorted sense of self can give birth to psychological disorders. We're often expected to behave as our parents desire when we're children. We are taught to go with the flow, and make sure that we fit in, which might sometimes mean going against our authentic self. Because everyone has to compromise their true opinions to fit in with common culture, it can be difficult for us to experience an objective sense of self. For example, sometimes we're not allowed to just say what we think, and instead feel pressure from others to say what they want us to. We might have to pretend to be someone else in order to be accepted. In the process, we suppress what we truly think and feel. This can result in deep-set mental trauma because of years of inflating and deflating our self-esteem. This can also lead to narcissistic disorders, a condition characterized by an inflated sense of self. Narcissistic symptoms include grandiose beliefs, arrogance, and boastfulness, all of which is self-expression gone too far. In today's world, people are obsessed with narcissism and individualism. This is a reflection of our inflated sense of self. On the contrary, those with depression often feel like they are worth less. They may have pessimistic thoughts where they think nothing matters, and that there is no value in life. There's also a chance your depression can cause feelings of emptiness, alienation, and guilt. This is because feeling this way will make you feel like you're not good enough when you compare yourself to others, or to the world. Part 4. Freedom from the Self. According to the author, Buddhism might be used to help people who have a distorted idea of their own self-worth. However, you should also remember that while emptiness gives you freedom from attachment, sticking to emptiness as a goal shouldn't be done either. In fact, Buddha always insisted that being attached to such a void is also unhealthy, and has the same consequences as being attached to a distorted self-worth. Regardless of whether the world is real or illusory, Buddhism can help us find release from attachments to our false egos. This can be achieved by practicing meditation and compassion. The first technique, Buddhist meditation, is designed to help you think more clearly. When you meditate, the goal is to have a clear mind and let go of attachments. You can do this by sitting down and focusing on your thoughts or sensations, without obsessing over them. If you practice meditation for long enough, you will eventually come to the conclusion that the self is empty. Another key part of Buddhist practice is compassion. It's often said this is the central aspect of Buddhism, and the key to a truly happy life. Compassionate behavior pretty much means you put others before your own, and avoid being self-centered. So, while psychoanalysis delves deep into your inner psyche, Buddhism helps us realize that the true nature of the self is nothing but emptiness. To listen to more interesting summaries, please subscribe to my channel. Part 5: Western versus Eastern Approach toward the Self. Here, the author talks about the hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts are a Buddhist metaphor depicted on the wheel of life, about the greed and desire for material comforts that may propel you into a cycle of endless suffering. These ghosts are depicted as having huge stomachs and tiny mouths that never get sated. They have to constantly seek, because they never get enough. Symbolically, the hunger could be seen as a combination of anger, desire, and attachment, a type of suffering often more prevalent in Westerners over Easterners. Westerners have a hunger to constantly try and get more, simply because they're never satisfied. This in turn makes people in the West behave like hungry ghosts. But what's the reason behind this? Westerners typically struggle with loneliness, and this can cause them to feel an insatiable desire for attachment. Western children seem to especially show signs of this type of behavior. Many people suffering from mental health problems were often neglected or abandoned by their parents during their childhood, which was the root cause of their psychological issues. This is understandable, as Western moms often return to work soon after giving birth, as a result of which the infants they leave behind might suffer from loneliness. Then, when we reach adulthood, we find that the world is just as individualistic and segregated as our families were. This makes it difficult for us to form lasting relationships. Ultimately, this leads to low self-esteem. People from Eastern cultures also struggle with emotional problems. However, their problems reside in the other end of the spectrum. Asian families tend to be much larger as compared to their Western counterparts, and the children are expected to respect the elders and societal norms without questioning the authority. People often end up feeling clogged by society, and develop feelings of arrogance and inflated sense that can make it hard to deal with. As such, Easterners often see themselves more than others in their society, and would benefit from changing that mindset. Part 6: Buddhism can help you balance your emotions. Buddhists allow their emotions and feelings to be acknowledged without judgment, and psychoanalysis can learn from this technique too. According to Freud, being happy as a baby is easy. All babies need someone to tend to their needs, people who are sympathetic, and without judgment. They cry, and are immediately cared for. On the other hand, when we're adults, it can seem hard to appreciate happiness, or have that same burst of joy when something goes well. When babies grow up, they are often reminded of the care they received from their mothers, and are led to believe that sharing this relationship with a stuffed animal is a good way to transition into adulthood, and will aid in making them emotionally stable. The Buddhists, however, had already found a way to reclaim this blissful state of happiness, by just observing their emotions non-judgmentally. Part 7: Practicing mindfulness can alleviate suffering. Mindfulness has been the it thing for a few years now. But what does it really entail? Mindfulness is all about being in the moment, and being more aware of your body and breath, instead of your own thoughts that constantly try to pull you into a downward spiral. Mindfulness is a really helpful tool when it comes to being aware of what you're worrying about too much, or when you replay painful memories to yourself. Mindfulness should be practiced throughout the day. It can help with many things, like filtering out negative thoughts from our minds by remaining grounded in our bodies. For example, while having our morning tea of coffee, we could spend our time focusing on the sensation of drinking, and on the taste of the beverage, instead of worrying about whatever's ahead for us that day. Focusing on your body, mind, and emotions as a single entity will make things feel more real. Mindfulness and meditation can often be facilitated by the breath. Practice a focus on breathing for a meditative mode of operation, or when you find yourself having your attention wandering. It can help you stay in the moment with ease. You might also notice that these exercises provide a calming effect and help you focus your attention on the task at hand. They also allow you to experience time the way it happens, rather than just living it in your head. Focusing on your breath can help you relax, and in this state of mind, you won't be constantly wishing for time to move faster or slower. In order to live a more mindful life, the most important step is to take things in stride and stop living in an egoistic manner. Being present allows you to be mindful of your senses, and it will help you be aware of what is real about this moment. Thank you for watching this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. Your comments, likes and shares are highly appreciated. See you soon in our next episode.